Good morning, dear friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. A couple of weeks ago, we began a discussion on this subject, the age of deception. And we're not assuming that the age of deception started in our time. No, the age of deception has been on humanity from the very beginning. But what I mean by having this discussion is that we are in an increased age of deception. The devil is unleashing his power of lying and deceiving people, and we see it all around us. And we talked a couple of weeks ago about that first lie that happened in the garden when the devil convinced Eve that if she ate of the fruit, she would be like God. Ooh, hard to resist, be God. Have his power, have his authority. I could be God. I could. One woman recently wrote, just to see how the deception works, I am my own truth, unknown truth. I am free to be whoever I want to be, do whatever I want to do. Oh, really? You're a woman. You can mutilate your body, but you can't change the DNA that says you are a biological female. That's what's true. The rest of this stuff you're thinking is just a bold-faced lie, but there you are. And see the perpetration of these lies, my friends, and particularly on our young people. It's craziness, isn't it? Existentialism reigns. I'll have my own truth and you can have your own truth, and let's just hope they don't really conflict. Wow, they do. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's what causes all the division. We don't have a standard by which we agree on something anymore. And so it's left and right and this and that. And oh, there you go. And we'll destroy ourselves. That's just, and by the way, isn't that what the devil has come to do? To destroy, to kill. So, and then we talked about the lie of origins. That God did not create the universe, that it somehow happened. That's the only scientific conclusion, is that the universe happened. Carl Sagan said, the cosmos, the cosmos, the cosmos. Well, where did that come? Where did the cosmos come from? Sooner or later, the scientist has to admit that his theory is chance. It all begins with chance. So we either have origin by chance or origin by creation. Your pick. Science has chosen chance. And it defies their own scientific logic, but there you are. And then the whole idea of the origin of life on Earth. There is nothing, as we said, in the fossil record. You can look it up. There's a lot of argument along the way, but the reality is nothing in the fossil record that suggests transitioning from one species to another through a process of evolution. These species, the fossil record shows that all of these species, some of them are extinct, but they were all there in their forms in the beginning. Well, anyway, no need to belabor that point. The lies about being my own truth and my own God, the lies about origins, the universe, and about life. And oh, can you not see, my friends, what these lies have done in the lives of people? No God, I'm my own God. I'm just a product of a primordial soup. And this is the only life I've got, and I'm going to live it the way I want to live it, regardless of what you think or what you say or what God says or what God does or whatever. There you are. Well, I'll talk to you about another lie today. And this lie is the lie with regards to life. 1973, 9 men sat on the Supreme Court and ruled in a case called Roe v. Wade that a woman would have the right to abort her baby. And that ruling plunged us into a battle for life. Since 1973, next year will be 50 years, 2023, 63 million babies have been murdered in this country. If we were to compare that to the Holocaust of history and to the plagues of history, wow, 63 million, it would top just about everything out there. And we just kind of look at it kind of passé, and we can't do that, my friends. We cannot look at it that way. And when you hear the rhetoric coming out of people's mouths that are promoting this, it's just lies and deceptions from the devil. We now know science through ultrasound has shown that life begins at conception, right? It doesn't begin at birth. It begins at conception. Now, I don't have a lot of time here, but I want to show you that biblically speaking, this is nothing new. David understood this by the inspiration of God way back in Psalm 139. Listen to what David says. You made all the delicate inner parts of my body, and you knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous, how well I know it. You watched me as I was being formed in utter seclusion, as I was woven together in the dark of the womb. You saw me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. How precious are your thoughts about me, O God. They cannot be numbered. I can't even count them. They outnumber the grains of sand. Amazing words from David. Now, I just want to pick this apart with you for a moment. David recognized in this psalm, in this context, that he was predetermined by God. That he didn't bubble up from some primordial soup that extended out here and he became a result of that, and he was this little one-celled amoeba that came up through the monkey ranks and then he became a human being. No. David recognized that his existence, not just his birth, not just his life, but his existence was predetermined by God. Listen to what he says. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day came to pass. All his days and all the minutes of all his days were predetermined. They were written in God's book. God had predetermined the point at which Jesse's wife would conceive and bear their son David, who was the youngest of 8 boys. David recognized that God had predetermined the time of his conception, his birth, his early development, and his growth to adulthood, and his ultimate demise. All of it was put in God's book before David was conceived, predetermined of God. Life, your life and my life, listen to me, was predetermined of God. I know your mom and dad got together and had intimacy and conception occurred, and here you are. But I'm telling you today, it wasn't their decision that brought you into the world. It was not their decision to be intimate that did this, because they were intimate many times without conception. And you are a miracle of God, my friend. God predetermined your existence. Something else I recognize from what David says here. He recognizes that his body was made by God. You made all of the delicate inner parts of my body. You knit me together in my mother. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. David recognizes that the body that he carried around in life was made by God. Ooh. It was not made by his mother or his father, as I said, or anyone else or any other power. Notice the references that David makes to you and your in reference to God. You did this. Right. And then David recognized that his body was watched over in the womb by God. Oh, how precious God's thoughts are towards us. I think that's why he winds up this passage that way. God was thinking, watching, preserving, protecting David in the womb for God's purposes. Wow. Contrary to Bette Midler's song, God is not watching us from a distance. He has been watching over us from before conception, at conception, the early part of our life, and will watch over us all the way through the end. My friends, this is what we're dealing with here. This battle for life is so crucial. It's so important. David also recognized that God made him a person. Listen to this. David refers to himself in all of this conception process, refers to himself as a person. He refers to himself in the first person, I and me. He refers to his conception as me. You made all the delicate inner parts of my body. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. You watched me as I was being formed, and I was woven together in the dark. You saw me. David refers to himself He is a person. Listen, God not only made David, not only predetermined that he would be existing, he not only made him in his mother's womb, formed him just exactly like he determined he would be, but he not only watched over him to make sure that everything worked the way he wanted it to work, but at the end, watch this, David was a person. And that all was put there in conception. A person. Not just a blob. He didn't come out just a mass of human flesh. He came out with a body and a person, a personhood. I, me. Ladies and gentlemen, life is a miracle. It is sacred. It was ordained by God. It was created by God. And now that we can see through ultrasound that it all begins at conception, listen to me. The lies that are going on around here are just ridiculous. It is common sense and has been for centuries, no millennia of time. Wow. How did David see all this? I think he got it by inspiration from God. And isn't it interesting that our founding forefathers would put in the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Creator gave the right to life. David was right, and our founding forefathers were right. And we need to stand on the right to life. One Voice Mission stands for life. I stand for life. I pray that you do too. And I pray that the church in America will stand up for life, and that we'll pray for all the folks around us. And by the way, I have no angst against anybody who's had an abortion. I recognize that it happens. And as a church, as Christians, we need to love. We need to forgive. We need to embrace. The grace of God covers all of this. I believe that every one of the 63 million babies has been covered in the grace of God in our present tense with him right now. Oh, hallelujah. Oh, the goodness of God to all of us. So don't go away from this thinking that Johnny Hall is beating up on anybody. I'm not. I'm just saying we need to stand for life. God is for life. He is the creator of life. And I just can't imagine what kind of judgment will come upon people who have perpetrated these kinds of things upon society, and the judgment that will be meted out on the devil for his destructive measures of deception. Oh, well, anyway, great song. Immortal, invisible, God only wise. In the third verse, it begins this way. To all life thou givest, to both great and small. In all life thou livest, the true life of all. Great song of God and his sovereignty. Let's sing it together.